Good evening, Pranam, everyone. Welcome to today's lesson. We welcome back Prafulaben this evening, who will be conducting tonight's class with the topic of Neminath, the Compassionate Prince. For those of you who are not familiar with Prafulaben, she is the religious lead and the vice chair of Northwest Area. She led the class last week on Parshvanath Bhagwan and his journey from Kashi to Shikarji. And if you missed this, then you can catch up on last week's lesson, as well as all the other Tuesday classes on our OI UK YouTube channel. Before we begin tonight's class, I have just one announcement, and that is Thursday's Jain class for beginners will be recommencing, and it will be with Rajiv Bhai. And the topic for this week is the Jain concept of God. So without taking any more of Prafulaben's time, I will hand over to Prafulaben. Thank you.
Jai Jinendra, Pranam, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for this Tuesday class. Today we're going to talk about Neminath Bhagwan, the 22nd Tirthankar of this Jovisi. And we have given him the title of the Compassionate Prince. And what we're going to talk about is his life before he became Neminath Bhagwan. I have got some slides which I will be sharing with you. And at the end, if you've got any questions, please put them in the Zoom chat or ask me directly. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just going to make this slightly bigger if I can. Oops. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So as I said, we're going to talk about Neminath Bhagwan, the Compassionate Prince, and his life before Neminath. So we will examine a few facts about Neminath Bhagwan first. Neminath Bhagwan lived 81,000 years before the previous, the next Tirthankar Bhagwan, which is Parshvanath Bhagwan, who we talked about in our talk last week. His father was Samudra Vijay and his mother was Queen Shiva Devi. He was born in the Yadavpur in North Indian city of Shoripur, and Shoripur is located about 75 kilometers from Agra. Today, there is a beautiful Derasa there, really lovely atmosphere. It is a very rural area, And if anyone goes to Agra, do make that trip to Shoripur. It is the most beautiful and spiritually uplifting Tirth Yatra. It is believed that Neminath Bhagwan had the same colored dark skin, bluish black, as Krishna Bhagwan, and Neminath Bhagwan lived for 1,000 years and actually took Diksha when he was 300 years old. He spent around 70% of his lifetime for the salvation of others and the world around him. And he finally achieved Nirvana in Girnar. So Girnar Tirth, we will also be referencing in the talk today. So these are just a few facts about Neminath Bhagwan, which we may be aware of, but perhaps don't always consider them in our conscious mind. As I said, we're going to talk about his previous births today. So he had 8 births before he was born as Nem Kumar to Samudra Vijay and Shiva Devi. So the first birth was as King Dhanpati. Second, he was Devlokma. In the third birth, he was Vidyadhar Chitragati. And alongside this, I do want to talk about Rajul, because we can't talk about Neminath and not talk about Rajul. And I'll explain why in a second. In the fourth birth, he was Dev again. Fifth, King Aprajit and Queen Pritimati was Rajul. Sixth, they were Dev and Devi together. And seventh birth, they were King Shank and Queen Yashomati. In the eighth birth, they were back in the heavens as Dev and Devi. And then finally, in the ninth birth, he was born as Nem Kumar and she was born as Raju. And why does this keep happening? So this kept happening because in many stavans today, we hear about their Art Bhavni Preet. And that means they had the eternal bond of 8 lives. So birth after birth, death after death, they were being reborn and always re-meeting each other and becoming husband and wife. So our story map, we will learn this in the story as we progress through the story. So in his first birth, Tirthankar Sri Neminath Bhagwan was born as King Dhanpati. And at the time of his conception and when he was in his mother's womb, his mother saw a dream. And in that dream, she saw one mango tree, but it was planted in 9 different places. So she was very curious and she asked about this dream. When she asked this question, the answer was given by a Jyotish that your son will have 9 births and this child each birth will be better than the previous birth, and he will be a very majestic man. And as we go through the story, we will actually see this happening. So Prince Dhanpati in his youth was an extremely good-looking and brave man. On the other side, Rajul in her first birth was beautiful, smart princess by the name of Dhanvati. And Dhanvati's father had a very tough job, and he was always worried that how will I find somebody who will marry my daughter, who is actually worthy of my daughter, because she was a very beautiful princess. So what happens one day, Dhanvati is in the garden with her friends, and she sees a painter painting a picture, and he's actually painting the picture of a handsome young prince. So she's looking at the picture and asks, who is this? And absolutely stunned, the painter replies that this is Prince Dhanpati, and he's very, very handsome, and he is the prince of a Rajya not very far from here. There and then, Dhanvati decides, okay, this is the person I'm going to marry, and falls in love with him at the first sight. And actually, that is exactly what happens. Dhanvati's father and Dhanpati's father decide that this is a very good union, and they both get married. They're spending a very nice, life together. Their married life is very happy. And then one day, a monk visits the palace who is very, very ill. Dhanpati's father decides to take care of the monk, and doing so, the monk is very pleased and gives him a lot of religious teachings. father then decides he's going to take Diksha, and he takes the Diksha. Many years later, the same monk returns to the palace to Dhanpati and Dhanvati. And again, the similar thing happens, and they both take Diksha together. So this was in the first birth, they took Diksha together. In the next life, both of them actually are taking birth as Dev and Devi in upper heavens. So we will now talk about the third and the fourth birth, where Neminath Bhagwan takes birth as Vidyagar Chitraragi and Raju as Princess Ratnavati. Again, very beautiful, very intelligent. And when she was born, her father is asking Muni Maharaj, to whom will my daughter be married? This seems to be a theme of the story. Actually, the father's always worried. Okay, who will my daughter marry? Will they be worthy of her? So Muni Maharaj says to the father, there will be three indications, and these three indications together, whoever possesses them will be the person that your daughter will marry. The first one will be the person who lifts this extremely strong kadag. So it's a sword that the king owns. And he says the person who lifts this will be the person your daughter marries. And secondly, on whom, while worshipping the Tirthankar Lord, flowers will be showered. And third, seeing whom your daughter will fall in love. And again, this is exactly what happens. They meet in very strange circumstances. So he is in a situation where he's trying to rescue a princess who has been kidnapped, and the princess was the friend of his daughter of his friend, and that's when she meets him, and he actually lifts the sword in the rescue effort. The flowers do get showered on him, and after a very, very long time, they do get married. So Princess Ratnavati marries Chitragati in his second birth. So Neminath Bhagwan's second birth, they are remarried again and living a very nice life, devoting their life to good causes, doing good. And again, their next life is as Dev and Devi. And this is again a theme that is repeating in this story. And interesting thing is, right up until the last birth, they do keep meeting each other. And I think if you remember last time when we were talking about Parshnath Bhagwan, there was also this thing with Parshnath Bhagwan and Kamat because of the enmity that existed between them. But here, something different is happening. So in the fifth birth of Neminath Bhagwan, he takes birth as King Aprajit, and she takes birth as Queen Pritimati. And Pritimati, when she was a princess, was very beautiful. That every king in the region wanted to marry her. So her father decides, I'm going to organize a Sayamvar. And a Sayamvar is where competition takes place between many prospective bridegrooms to see actually who will marry this person. And Sayamvars can be about strength, they can be about intelligence. So a lot of questions were asked of this prince, and he attended the Sayamvar, but in disguise as a very ugly person. So he didn't attend as the prince that he was. And while all the kings were unable to answer the questions that were being put to them, he was the only one that actually managed to answer all the questions. And Princess Pritimati puts the garland on him, and you could see that here in the picture. And this was their union in Neminath Bhagwan's fifth birth. In the sixth birth, again, both of them take birth as Dev and Devi. And this is because of all of the punya karmas that they are accumulating as they're going along this bhav after bhav, the yatra or the journey of their being. In the next life, we're going to hear about how they become to come together, and how he, in the seventh birth, he takes his name is King Shank, so he takes birth as King Shank, and she takes birth as Queen Yashomati. But before that, I'm going to put a stop here, and we have got two lovely ladies who are going to sing with us today. So the first Stavan is by Shobna Ben, who's going to present her Stavan, and then we're going to hear from Nirmala Ben. So Shobna Ben, if you are ready, we'll hear the Stavan now.
प्रणाम, जय जिनेन्द्र। 22 प्रभु नेम कुमार, बंधु धरि अति प्रेम, शिवा देवी केराला। गिर नर गिरिवर पर बिराजे, गुण छे भरपूर, शिवा देवी केराला। समुद्र विजय राजा पिता, यादव कुल अभिराम हो। समुद्र विजय राजा पिता, यादव कुल अभिराम। श्रावण सुदी पंचमी दिन जन्म्या, श्रावण सुदी पंचमी दिन जन्म्या, शौरीपुर शुभ धाम, शिवा देवी केराला। अनुक्रमे प्रभु यौवन पाम्या, साथे सौ परिवार हो। अनुक्रमे प्रभु यौवन पाम्या, साथे सौ परिवार। शौरीपुर थी निकली आव्या, शौरीपुर थी निकली आव्या, द्वारिका मोजार, शिवा देवी केराला। संयमना अभिलाषी प्रभु, करे विवाहनो इनकार हो। संयमना अभिलाषी प्रभु, करे विवाहनो इनकार। राणियों द्वारा कृष्ण करावे, राणियों द्वारा कृष्ण करावे, पण पराणे स्वीकारे, शिवा देवी केराला। जान जमाड़वा भेगा कीधा, राजाए पशु अपार हो। राजान जमाड़वा भेगा कीधा, राजाए पशु अपार। पशुओ मृत्यु आव्यु जानी, पशुओ मृत्यु आव्यु जाने, करे करुण पुकार, शिवा देवी केराला। पशुओना पोकार सुनीने, करुणा थई जिनराय हो। पशुओना पोकार सुनीने, करुणा थई जिनराय। पाछो रथ वाली गिरनारे, पाछो रथ वाली गिरनारे, जयने संयमी थाय, शिवा देवी केराला। રાજુલ ઊભી રાહને જોતી, ક્યારે આવે નેમ હો. રાજુલ ઊભી રાહને જોતી, ક્યારે આવે ને મને પાછા વળતા જોઈ ને મને પાછા વળતા જોઈ પોકાર કરે શિવા દેવી કેરાલાલ જવું હતું પાછા તો શાને આવ્યા લઈને જાન હો જવું હતું પાછા તો શાને આવ્યા લઈને જાન આંસુઓની ધારે રોતી આંસુઓની ધારે રોતી રાજુલ થઈ બેભાન શિવા દેવી કેરાલાલ ભાનમાં આવી ગિરનાર જઈ સંયમ લઈ પ્રભુ પાસ હો ભાનમાં આવી ગિરનાર જઈ સંયમ લય પ્રભુ પાસ રાજુલ નર ભવ પ્રીત નિભાવી રાજુલ નર ભવ પ્રીત નિભાવી પહોંચ્યા મુક્તિ નિવાસ શિવા દેવી કેરાલાલ ગિરનારે પ્રભુ કેવળ પામી ગયા મુક્તિ મુઝાર હો ગિરનારે પ્રભુ કેવળ પામી ગયા મુક્તિ મુઝાર જંબુ કહે નેમ ચરિત સુણતા જંબુ કહે નેમ ચરિત સુણતા ઉપજે હર્ષય પાર શિવા દેવી કેરાલાલ 22માં પ્રભુ નેમ કુમાર વંદુ ધરી અતિ પ્રેમ શિવા દેવી કેરાલાલ શિવા દેવી કેરાલાલ જય જિનેન્દ્ર
Thank you very much, Shobna Ben, for that really beautiful stuff. And Aki, the whole story of Neminath and Rajul is actually in this stuff. And so thank you for sharing. I'm going to continue with our story now. So we were talking about the sixth birth and how that happened. And in the seventh birth, Neminath Bhagwan and Raju again meet up. He's King Shank and she's Queen Yashomati. One day they are, and this is the story of how they actually met. So Prince is actually one day out with his friends in the kingdom, in a jungle, and he hears a very loud cry, a mourning cry from a woman. And when he goes to look at who this is, he sees a very old woman standing there. And with the old woman is also another young woman. And he realizes that they've actually been kidnapped. And the young woman is Princess Yashomati. He saves her from the kidnappers. And there and then it is decided that they will marry. In this life, both the prince and the princess do a lot of aradhana and good deeds. And this is where Neminath Bhagwan achieves Tirthankar Nam and Gotra Karma. And we'll talk about that a little bit further on when we talk about Neminath in his next poem. So in the eighth poem, once again, they are born as Dev and Devi, and we will talk about why as well a little bit later on. The next two images actually are showing him as the son of Shiva Devi, and here he is blowing a conch sunk. This was one of his favorite pastimes. He used to do this a lot. And
Robin, sorry, you're not sharing.
oh, sorry. Thank you for telling me. I'm not sure how that's happened. Let me go back. Forgot to press share. That's why. Sorry about that, everyone. Here you go. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Apologies. So I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but you could see in this picture, this is them in heaven. And the next two images actually are what I want to talk about. So here he is shown as a young prince born to Shiva Devi, and he's blowing a conch shank. And this is actually Neminath Bhagwan's luncheon is a shank. And this is something he was doing a lot. In the second image, he's actually with some Ranis of Krishna Bhagwan who are trying to persuade him to be married and get married. What's actually happened here in his life, in his 9th life, Bhagwan Neminath takes birth in the Yadavpur, in the household of, as we said earlier, Samudra Vijay, King Samudra Vijay and Queen Shiva Devi. In Shauripur, which we talked about, which is located near 75 kilometers from Agra in northern India. And he is the son of Samudra Vijay. And Samudra Vijay was the eldest of 10 brothers of King Vasudev. And Vasudev was the father of Lord Krishna. So Krishna and our father was Vasudev. And every ritela kanu our relationship. So many times we hear that Neminath Bhagwan and Krishna Bhagwan are cousins, and this is how they were cousins. So they were both born in the Yadav Kur in the same family, and they were cousins because both fathers were brothers. One of the 10 children of King Vasudev. There are many similarities between the cousins, and here I think it's very important to reference Krishna Bhagwan, because in the next Chauvisi, Krishna Bhagwan is actually going to become a Jain Tirthankar, and in that time, his Nirvan Kalyanak is also going to happen at Girnar, same as Neminath Bhagwan's happened in the previous Chauvisi, in the current Chauvisi we are talking about. So this is the relationship between the two, Krishna Bhagwan and Neminath Bhagwan. Neminath Bhagwan is also connected with, as well as Shauripur and Girnari, is also connected with Dwarka. And Dwarka was the basic kingdom of the Yadav clan. And Krishna Bhagwan, of course, is also connected with Dwarka. So we hear a lot about the two together when they were children, when they were growing up. So when he was growing up, when he was born, his parents named him Arishtanemi. And sometimes you will hear this as well connected with him. So some people will say Neminath Bhagwan, some will say Arishtanemi. A lot of temples today, when you visit those temples in India or even here, the murti of Neminath Bhagwan is of black color. And that is because, as I was saying earlier, he was born reputably of that black skin color. Right from his very young age, Neminath Bhagwan was very compassionate and believed in a life of non-violence, and he led a very non-violent life, very kind-hearted, always praying with friends. And as a young man, he ended up being trained to use weapons, because Yadav Kuls are actually Kshatriyas, they are the fighters. And so he was at a very young age taught how to use the bow and arrow. And there is a lot of stories about his tremendous power as a young man. Having been born in this Yadav Kur, there were also some obligations on him. And one of those obligations was that he would at some point have to fight battles for the kingdom, when there was either a fight with a neighboring kingdom or something was happening that the ruling king needed him to resolve. So without causing any violence or hurting anyone, he would still say, I'm helpless, I will not fight because I'm somebody who is not able to do this. But he did learn the bow and arrow. We're going to hear our next stubborn now. And then after that, I will continue the story of the compassionate prince.
जय जिनेन्द्र प्रणाम। मुश्किल संयम नेम प्रभुनो भवतरवा काजे प्रीत छेनी नव नव भवनी રાજુલની સાથે મુશ્કિલ સંયમ નેમ પ્રભુનો ભવતરવા કાજે પ્રીત છેની નવ નવ ભવની રાજુલની સાથે તોરણ આવ્યા નેમ પ્રભુજી બજે સહેનાઈ શોરો કરતી પશુ પંખીની રો રો કરતી નેમજી દિલમાં ધરતારજી ઘન ઘન ઘોર ઘટા છાઈ ત્યાં ઘન ઘન ઘોર ઘટા છાઈ ત્યાં રાજુલને હૈયે પ્રીત છેની નવ નવ ભવની રાજુલની સાથે નિમજી કહે છે હું ના પરણું છોડું આ સંસારનું તરણું સંયમ સાથે હું તો પરણું મીઠું લાગે એક ઝરણું સહે સાવનમાં સંયમ લઉં હું સહે સાવનમાં સંયમ લઉં હું શિવ સુખને માટે પ્રીત છેની નવ નવ ભવની રાજુલની સાથે મુશ્કિલ સંયમ નેમ પ્રભુનો ભવતરવા કાજે પ્રીત છેની નવ નવ ભવની રાજુલની સાથે સાજન રોવે માજન રોવે ધ્રુસકે રાજુલ રોવે હરણા રોવે ઝરણા રોવે આકાશે પણ તારા રોવે વિનવે સૌ કોઈ રડતી આંખે વિનવે સૌ કોઈ રડતી આંખે રાજુલને વરીએ પ્રીત છેની નવ નવ ભવની રાજુલની સાથે નિમજી કહે છે આપણ બંને સંયમ લઈ જગમાં વિચરીએ જૈન ધર્મનો ઝંડો લઈને ગઢ ગિરનારે મુક્તિ વરીએ ચાલો રાજુલ મારી સાથે ચાલો રાજુલ મારી સાથે સંયમ લઈ ફરીએ પ્રીત છેની નવ નવ ભવની રાજુલની સાથે મુશ્કિલ સંયમ નેમ પ્રભુનો ભવતરવા કાજે ప్రీత చేని నవ నవ భవని రాజులని సాథే संयम लईने सुखिया थावे भवोदधि दारण हार कहावे मुक्तिपुरी ना राह बतावे भवि जीवने भव पार करावे श्री जैन भक्ति मंडळ गावे श्री जैन संयुक्त मंडळ गावे शिवरमणी वरिये प्रीत छेनी नव नव भवनी राजुलनी साथे मुश्किल संयम नेम प्रभुनो भवतरवा काजे प्रीत छेनी नव नव भवनी राजुलनी साथे प्रीत छेनी नव नव भवनी राजुलनी साथे बोलो बोलो निमनाथ भगवान जी।
Thank you, Nirmalaben. Beautiful Southern. And we were talking about the eternal, meeting and departing of Nem Bhagwan and Raju in the 8 Bhavs. And in this Southern, we also hear some of that. And then the Diksha that Neminath Bhagwan too. So continuing with the story, and I'm going to just share my screen now. So what's actually happening is he's growing up, and in this photo we see Krishna Bhagwan's queens are talking to him in a park in a garden about getting married. And he's not interested, and he's not interested in the worldly pleasures. He's just very, very sensitive, very, very spiritual, and he doesn't want to get married. However, all the elders decide that married he will. And they fix his marriage with the daughter of King Ugrasen, who was called Rajimati. And with great pomp and circumstance, they take the Jan. And in this image, you see the Vargora of the Jan, and very beautifully depicted here. There's a lot of people, a lot of animals. So the Jan is going along, and along the route, Neminath Bhagwan is hearing some animals, and he, first of all, is worried that where are these sounds coming from? And basically, what this was for the marriage ceremony dinner or lunch. All these animals were going to get sacrificed, and this was to feed the Jan. And at that time, this was how people were living. Even though there was compassion, he hears the cries of these animals who are all, in this waiting to be basically sacrificed. And Neminath decides there and then that this is not going to happen because of me. I am not going to let this happen. And rather than get married, he decides he will not marry, and the whole procession reverses and turns away. And there are many stavans today where we hear the story of the Jan of Neminath Bhagwan turning away from Raju's door, and the wedding doesn't actually happen. And he decides at that time, in that moment, that he's actually going to take Diksha. And Diksha then happens, and he takes Diksha and decides to take his sannyasi Jivan in Girnar. And we often hear of Seshavan in Girnar, which is where he took Diksha, and that's where he attained Keval Gnan. What happened to Raju, on the other hand, rather than her carrying on with her life and perhaps marrying somebody else, she too decides that this is not what I'm going to do, and decides to take Diksha too. If you go to Ginnar today, you will also see Rajul's Gufa whilst doing the journey of Ginnar to the temples that we will see soon in the images that I will share. And along that journey, you do see Rajul's Gufa beautifully signposted. And that is where actually Rajul did some of her tapasya and in her samadhi. That's where after taking Diksha, she actually lived there. So they both have taken Diksha and renounced the world that they knew. And this is in the 9th cycle of their birth. And they both took birth. They both met each other again. Neminath Bhagwan's Keval Gnan also happens in Ginnar, and he doing the tapasya and dhyan, he attains Keval Gnan at Girnar. And again, if you go to Seshavan in the Girnar journey, you will see the paglas where Bhagwan achieved Keval Gnan. And this tree that is depicted here is actually also there. So that concludes the story as far as Neminath Bhagwan's Kalyanaks are concerned, except for one. And his Moksha Kalyanak also happened here in Girnar. And this is a photograph of actually our journey to Girnar many years ago. And on a beautiful day, but very, very, very dense. So it's surrounded by forests and a lot of greenery. But on this, I've sort of decided to show you some of the detail of the temples that are there. This temple is actually also made of black stone color, as you can see here in Shobha Ben's images as well. Unusually, you don't see many of our temples made in this black stone, but this one is. Reading the one on the right-hand side here, Vastupar Tejpar, it's a name very synonymous with Jain temples. They've built very many Jain temples, and they've of course built one here, Girnar. Girnar also has a beautiful temples of Ambika Mata, and that's because Ambika Mata is the Yakshini of Neminath Bhagwan. And in some families, Ambika Mata is also the Kurdevi of the family. So we've heard a lot about Nemrajul and their eternal love for each other, and how birth and death, but they keep meeting each other. We're going to hear our final stavan now from Shobna Ben, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Girnar itself.
Pranam. Oh, Nath. Oh, Nath. Neminath. Oh, Nath. Shiva Devinan Yadukulachan Bhavisma Dinarajatame O Kama Vijayi Kamanagara Raivatana Shiritajatame तुझ ध्यान थी क्रोधोत्तर्या तुझ ध्यान थी क्रोधोत्तर्या मुझ अभगिने पण तार जो बाल ब्रह्मचारी शिरोमणि नेमिनाथ मुझने उगार जो शौरिपुरी चैवन जन्म कर्म भूमि द्वारिके गिरनार आवी दीक्षा लई केवल वरिया सहसावने निर्वाण भूमि पंचमटों के निर्वाण भूमि पंचम टोके मोक्ष पद मने आप जो बाल ब्रह्मचारी शिरोमणि नेमिनाथ मुझने उगार जो हे नाथ तारा मस्तके जल क्षीर धारा खड़ खड़े तुझ देह पर विराजवाने पुष्पोना मधुवन खिले मुझ पर प्रभु जी कृपा करी मुझ पर प्रभु जी कृपा करी चरणों मन स्थाप जो बाल ब्रह्मचारी शिरोमणि नेमिनाथ मुझने उगार जो हूँ राह क्या अटकी पड़ू तमे माँ बनी संभाल जो मुझे शिष्य ना गुरु बनी मने साचो मार्ग बतावजो पाप कर्मोथी ले पाउना पाप कर्मोथी ले पाउना वैराग्य है ये दीपावजो बाल ब्रह्मचारी शिरोमणि नेमिनाथ मुझने उगार जो जे तीर्थना पावन भूमि पर अरिहंतोनो वास छे जे तीर्थना वातावरणમાં સંયમનો સુવાસ છે એ ગિરનારની ગોદમાં એ ગિરનારની ગોદમાં છે પ્રભુ તારો આસરો बाल ब्रह्मचारी शिरोमणि नेमिनाथ मुझने उगार जो बाल ब्रह्मचारी शिरोमणि नेमिनाथ मुझने उगार जो બોલો બોલો નેમિનાથ ભગવાનની જય.
Thank you, Shobna Ben, for that really lovely slogan, which of course talks about Girnar and aptly, because I'm about to also give a little bit more information about Girnar. So Girnar is a very important place of pilgrimage for Jains, but also for Hindus. Girnar is in Gujarat, in Junagadh, and the temples at Girnar were carved between 1128 and 1500. So many, many, many decades ago, basically. And as well as the footprints of Neminath Bhagwan, the Seshavan that I talked about, there are also some Jain, some Hindu peaks and footprints there. There's the temple of Ambika Mata. There's also the temple dedicated to the 24 Tirthankars there. And the group of temples that are Jain temples, which were shown on the images that we just saw here, they are basically the ones that were built between 1128 and 1500. Ambaji Mata's temple was built in the 12th century and dedicated to Amba Mata. And then the other peaks that are there are Gorakhnath's peak, which features the footprints of Rishi Gorakhnath. Dattatrayan's peak, which is, features the footprints of Guru Dattatraya. And these two are very important pilgrimage places for Hindus. there are some things we need to understand about Girnar before starting the pilgrimage, and it is one of the toughest yatras to do, because the steps are very, very deep, very, very high. And a couple of really good tips before going to Girnar is that start early in the morning, because the later it is, the more hotter it gets, and then in the sun we don't enjoy this as much. But you also want to go to Seshavan, which is on the left hand side. So if you go to the Seshavan part of this Girnar Jatra, you definitely have to start very early in the morning and then come down. So you'll be climbing one way but coming down from the second side, which is the Seshavan side. And always book accommodation before going, because you may have to actually stop the evening and stop the night there. This is actually one of the most revered tirths in India, Atyara, in this time. And more recently, the government of India has introduced a system where you can actually travel using a lift, an automatic lift to parts of this. And so many more people are now able to do the jatra, which perhaps before people were not able to do. And this concludes my talk today. We've talked a little bit about Neminath Bhagwan. There are many instances of his life that was in parallel with Krishna Bhagwan, and also touched the life of Parshnath Bhagwan. And perhaps in a future story, we may cover a bit of that. I'm going to stop there. I'm aware of the time and thinking, we may have a few questions. Mira, I don't know if we have some. I
Yes.
saw one in Zoom earlier.
Yes, I've got a couple. One is from Sanjna. She asks, if Neminath and Rajul became Dev and Devi in their bhavs, why do they get reborn as Munyashya bhav?
So in our Shastra, it is written, and I will double check this as well. But it is they had to take those births and reincarnations in order to meet as Rajul and Neminath in the 9th bhav. And so this was something that was written for them. And so the births that they were taking as Dev Devis was for the good punyas that they were doing, but then being reborn as Manushyas, so they were to meet again and again and again until the 9th bhav.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question is from Sandip. He asks, if Neminath Bhagwan and Krishna Bhagwan were cousins, Neminath Bhagwan lived to be 1,000 years old, and Krishna Bhagwan was 125 years. Is this true?
This I don't know. I'm going to be very honest, because I've done no research about Krishna Bhagwan's sort of early life. But we do know that Krishna Bhagwan, as I was saying earlier, that bond was very much alive. Even in Dwarka, if we go now, you do see imagery of the two cousins together. And of course, the next Chauvisi for us, Krishna Bhagwan actually is going to become a Jayanti Kanka. So definitely one to research, and a very good question. So maybe I'll do a little bit of work on that, and perhaps a talk in the future to see whether we can actually find historical evidence about this.
Okay. I don't have any other questions sent to me. If you have any, then if you read them out.
No, I haven't got any here.
Okay.
But if anyone's got a question, they want to put their hand up and ask, we're very happy to do that as well.
Yes, you can unmute yourself as well if you'd like to ask a question.
Can I ask?
Is that Chandrika?
Yes. Can I ask a question? Prafulaben, you said in one of his births that he rescued this girl and then he married her. So did they have any children once they got married? Because no mention of the children at all in the whole.
And again, I'm reading a very interesting book, and in this book also there's no mention of any children. So it's interesting, because even in his 9th life, as you heard in the Stavan, he was a brahmachari. So we don't know whether all their lives, every time they met, whether that was what he practiced, and so there were no children. So the book I'm actually reading is called The Compassionate Prince, and in that book there are no references to the children either.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Just out of curiosity, Prafulaben, the book that you are reading, is that in English or in Gujarati?
It's in English.
It's in English, okay.
It's
And
in
it's
the original was written by Yasho Vijayji Bharat Sahib, and it's been translated in English by a German researcher. So it's translated in many languages actually, and it's also obviously in German, but the version I'm reading is in English.
and is it an ebook or is it a physical?
No, it's a proper book.
A proper book. Okay, interesting.
But there's actually, it's a very good question, Mira, because there is a treasure trove of information online from a site called, I think it's called the Jain Library, and it's being run by some American colleagues out of New York, and they have built this incredible thing called the Jain Library, and it has so many books that have been translated from the original language of Pali and Sanskrit into Gujarati, Hindi, English. And if you Google them, the Jain Library, you can become a member. It's so free to become a member, and a lot of those books you can download from there.
That's great. Thank you for that, Prafulaben.
Question. ત્યાં રહનેમીની ગુફા છે કહો છે ને
So Ranemi was, of
એમના
course,
brother હતા ને
Neminath Bhagwan's brother.
એની
And there's a very good story about Ranemi and Raju, because he's secretly in love with her. And when Neminath Bhagwan rejects her, he starts making advances towards her, but she actually rejects him, and decides that the Diksha is the
એમના brother હતા
yeah.
I've been sent a question from Hasmukh. He's asking, did Neminath Bhagwan have just 9 paths before becoming a Tirthankar?
Yes, 9. So 9th path was Neminath Bhagwan. So he had 8 previous paths, yeah? 8 previous paths.
Sorry, there's a follow-up on that. Or was this just the 9 paths of Neminath Bhagwan and Rajmati?
No, that was it. He had 9 paths.
Okay, is there any more before we wrap up?
Prafulaben, beautiful presentation prepared by you. Really nice.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
stavans.
Very clear pictures. Very nice.
Okay, so I'll wrap up the session then. Thank you so much, Prafulaben. It was a very interesting session today as well as last week. And we do hope that you do come back whenever Ajit Pai is away. You can step in and talk about more Tirthankars and their past lives as well. That would be great. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone for attending. I think Ajit Pai is back next week, so we will resume the new topic, I believe. I don't know what it is yet, but there will be a new topic. So looking forward to seeing what it is, and I think Sandip Pai will send it all on the WhatsApp group. So, but thank you so much, Prafulaben, and we shall see you all next week.
Thank you, Meera, Darshana, for having me today. And also I want to say thank you to Nirmala Ben and Shobna Ben for such beautiful stavans. And I really enjoyed the series. And yeah, anytime there's a gap and you want something like this or something different, definitely reach out to me. But thank you very much for doing the tech today as well.
Thank you. And thank you again, Shobna Ben and Nirmala Ben as well. Thank you. Okay, I will end the session here. So we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miraben Prafulaben. Thank you very much.